We got some breaking news to get to out of the markets now, with the Dow officially closing in a bear market. It is happening, down more than 300 points since last week, with the S&P and the Nasdaq both falling today also. It's happening at the same time as another key economic indicator, the British pound, hitting an all-time low today against the dollar. 1 pound equaling about $1.03. It's now back up to like $1.07. If you've ever wanted to visit the UK, now is not a terrible time considering the exchange rate. And if you're thinking, hey, a strong dollar, cool, I can get behind a strong dollar. Well, economists aren't so sure. One headline in the New York Times framing this as being good for the U.S. but bad for the rest of the world. And experts point out that in the past, dollar strength like what we're seeing now has led sometimes to some kind of financial or economic crisis. I want to bring in now our NBC business and tech correspondent, Brian Cheung. So, Brian, the Dow now officially in a bear market. We had talked last week. It was maybe flirting with the bear market. They have now sealed the deal. Does that actually mean anything functionally for human beings who are not day-to-day stock traders?
Well, functionally, it means don't look at your 401k for right now. But when you take a look at the bear market that we entered officially today as of the market close, that is because the Dow fell by over 1% today. Essentially, what that means is that from the peak of the Dow earlier this year, it's been a 20% fall. The S&P 500 had already reached that watermark in July. Now, what we're talking about here is a stock market that's obviously been ugly in 2022. All this built around the fears that we're seeing from a Federal Reserve that could be raising interest rates into a recession, the cost of lowering high inflation in this country, compounding all of that with the developments we've seen overseas, as you mentioned, with the British pound falling as much as 4.4% today. That might be good for American travelers, but not good for the international picture, because a strong dollar has, in some cases in the past, led to financial crises in other countries.
What does it mean for, like, exports and such? How seriously should we be taking this news about the pound and the dollar if we're not planning to travel to the UK anytime soon?
Well, if you're talking about from the American viewpoint, that would make American exports certainly more expensive for other buying countries. Now, the overall concern, though, isn't necessarily the flow of goods and trade. What the real concern is going to be is whether or not other countries that have large amounts of dollar reserves, without getting too much into the weeds, might have to defend their currencies. We saw the Japanese government, for example, last week after the Federal Reserve's rate hike on Wednesday, move to try to support their currency. And if you rewind to 1997, the Thai baht had a big issue because of a strong dollar, something we certainly don't want to get to right now. Argentina, Egypt, Kenya, indebted countries to watch, Hallie.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.